I'm Daniel Goodwin, and I'm so glad you joined our Tax Smart Masterclass on Qualified Opportunity Zones, which, by the way, from here on out, I'm going to refer to as QOZs. I want to start by telling you a story about a business owner I met about a year ago. Ray came into my office and explained he had just sold his business and commercial building and was considering different tax strategies like the 1031 exchange. He was about to net just over $3 million from the sale, and without a shelter, he'd end up paying over $700,000 in taxes. After carefully listening to all the specifics of his business sale, his life situation, his other assets, his retirement income goals, I could tell that a qualified opportunity zone could potentially be the perfect solution for him. With the QOZ investment, Ray could end up netting the full $3 million of his sale proceeds, which in contrast to a 1031 exchange would have only netted him about $2.5 million. The reason for this is that much of his capital gain was coming from the sale of his closely held business, which does not qualify for a 1031 exchange. Ray's situation was clearly a great fit for a QOZ, and he aimed to capitalize on that. But I want to be clear, QOZs don't fit everyone's situation. They are for a very specific situation, and when they're misapplied, they could be very costly. This masterclass is designed to help you have a firm grip on how to use a QOZ to your advantage, when to use it, and why it can be so valuable to investors. If you'll commit to working through these 4 videos, you'll come out the other side feeling armed with great knowledge and confident about how you might apply this tool to your investment strategy. So if you're ready, grab your pen, your notepad, and let's dig in. Here's a short and sweet definition of what we're going to be talking about for the next 4 lessons. A QOZ is a tax strategy to defer long and short-term capital gains by investing in qualified opportunity zones. Additionally, the investment gains can be 100% tax-free. In this segment, I'm going to drill down on why so many investors are considering OZs as perhaps one of the best tax-smart opportunities in a generation. Let's start at the beginning with a quick background and history on OZs. Opportunity zones were first conceived as part of an innovative approach to spur private sector investments in high-potential communities nationwide. In a rare event, congressional political discourse took a temporary break from feuding when both sides supported creating significant tax incentives for qualified opportunity zones as part of the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act. The legislation was co-authored by Senators Cory Booker, a Democrat from New Jersey, and Tim Scott, a Republican from South Carolina. The basic concept centers on tax incentives for those who invest in designated areas around the country that could benefit from economic development. The idea is to reward investors who are helping in areas where revitalization is needed most. OZs are census tracts which have been designated by each state or territory and certified by the U.S. Treasury as eligible to receive private investments through Qualified Opportunity Funds, or QOFs. Keep in mind that OZs are relatively new. They were introduced in the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act, and developers saw what they believed could be a huge opportunity for development and investments. Much of the development was put on hold while the final rules and regulations were codified during 2018 and 2019. And then in the spring of 2020, the pandemic hit. So many of the OZ funds projects went on hold. And it wasn't really until 2021 and 2022 when OZs really started picking up their steam and momentum. So again, I remind you that while OZs are regularly talked about in the news right now, they're still relatively young. Many CPAs are just now learning how powerful OZs can be as a strategy to help their clients manage their tax liabilities and planning. I meet regularly with CPAs, and while many have heard of opportunity zones, my experience is that most are seeking more knowledge of how their clients can take advantage of this tax-smart opportunity. So if your CPA hasn't suggested this opportunity to you yet, you might send them an article or even a link to this masterclass. Of course, with this much positive potential, there must be some downside, right? Someone asked me recently, Dan, aren't these investment opportunities in some really bad areas where maybe no one would want to invest their capital? And that's a really great question. To gain some insight, let's go back to when this legislation was first formed. In the U.S., 8,760 census tract areas are designated as OZs. When the legislation was created, the governor of each state was asked to participate in naming the areas in the state that could benefit most from economic development. As you might expect, many of these areas are economically blighted and some are high crime areas. Many are just rural and lack goods and services in that part of the country. Some areas, however, are what real estate investors are calling diamonds in the rough. These are areas that developer studies show to be ripe and ready for development due to shifting demographics that could provide a real demand for real estate development and bring services and an increased tax base to a community in need. It's important to note that when these areas were selected, it was 2010 census data that was used for the selection. And as we all know, a lot can change in a decade. Today, many real estate developers are finding that many OZ investments can stand on their own 2 feet apart from all the tax favor treatment. I think anyone who lives in one of America's larger cities can think of an area in their city that is currently under economic redevelopment and is currently being revitalized. Let me give you a real-life example. There's a community close to downtown Dallas called Deep Ellum, which is in an opportunity zone. And for the last several years, Deep Ellum has been attracting developers, home builders, restaurants, and new urban residents who value convenience, proximity to work, and entertainment. Development firm named CIM was able to lure Uber to move their world headquarters from California to their new campus home inside an opportunity zone near downtown Dallas. Mayor Johnson of Dallas said that the development in Deep Ellum has been nothing short of remarkable, and he credited those changes to the city being able to lure Uber to relocate. He went on to say it's a testament of how far Dallas has come and how far it can go. If you're familiar with Houston, you know of an affluent part of the city called West University. And many investors are surprised to learn that parts of West University are in an opportunity zone. Right now, I'm watching the sales and development of a 5-star condo hotel on the water in downtown Tampa, which is an area deemed as an opportunity zone. And in case you want to research this, you can look it up at pendryresidencetampa.com. I think that anyone who cares to look can see that there are some substantial and very interesting development opportunities in opportunity zones. Keep in mind that OZs are for investing capital gains only. Investments held for the prescribed period can be 100% tax-free, which could be a huge potential benefit for investors. Moreover, the taxes due on capital gains can be deferred to tax year 2026, which are generally considered payable in 2027 for most taxpayers. The capital gains that get invested in an OZ fund could be long or short-term gains, and those gains could have come from the sale of real estate, stocks, a closely held business, artwork, or any highly appreciated asset. In contrast, your basis from the sale of an investment, IRAs, cash, or after-tax funds would not benefit from the tax favor treatment of OZs. It would not be suitable or allowed for an OZ investment. While we're on cap gains here, I want to mention that generally you have 180 days to invest an eligible gain in an OZ. The first date of the 180-day period is the date the gain would be recognized for federal income tax purposes. Let's take a quick sidebar here and discuss the accredited investor. To register for this masterclass, you had to make an attestation that you are an accredited investor, as Opportunity Zone Fund investments are not available to everyone, but only to accredited investors. The short definition of an accredited investor is someone with a net worth of over $1 million apart from your primary residence, or someone with an income of over $200,000 for an individual, or $300,000 for a married couple in each of the prior 2 years, and reasonably expects the same for the current year. There are certain securities licensed individuals who can be exempt due to their professional qualifications, and entities may also qualify if the entity has investments of more than $5 million. By the way, if there's anything else you want to learn about the definition of an accredited investor, just go to the website sec.gov. So if you're an investor right now listening to this masterclass and you say, you know, Dan, on my real estate transaction, I really like the idea of being able to separate my gains from my basis, where I can be a free agent with my basis and invest any way I like. I like being able to invest only the cap gain in the OZ fund, and I like the tax deferral until 2026, payable in 2027. And I love the idea of the tax-free growth in the OZ fund. But what about the risk with these investments? Since you're an accredited investor, I'm sure I don't have to remind you that all investments involves risk. And of course, so do qualified opportunity zones. Someone who doesn't have the capacity for risk might be better served in a lower risk investment and the returns that go along with it. As far as risk goes, everyone should be keenly aware of what the specific investment risks are. A description of risk can be found in the endnotes of this masterclass, and every investor should be reminded that investments are offered only by PPM, which means private placement memorandum. Investors are encouraged to carefully read the entire PPM and would also be encouraged to seek competent tax and legal advice. However, in this masterclass, I'm going to help you create a plan to carefully evaluate and minimize these risks. So I want to encourage you to stay with me through all 4 classes, so when you consider QOZs, you're doing so with a lot of confidence. At the end of each video, we're going to take a quick look at some of the most frequently asked questions. So here we go. FAQ number 1. Can an investor invest directly into an opportunity zone business to qualify for associated tax benefits? And the answer here is no. Investors must invest through a qualified opportunity fund, QOF, to qualify for the associated tax benefits. I've been asked, do I need to live in an opportunity zone to take advantage of the tax benefits? And again, the answer here is no. There's no requirement for investors in QOFs to live, work, or operate a business in an opportunity zone. Who can invest in an opportunity zone? The answer is any U.S. or foreign investors or pass-through entities recognizing U.S. capital gains. So if you've been hearing a lot about opportunity zones, you're likely asking yourself, why are investors flocking to these in such staggering numbers? It's because of the investment opportunities and the tax breaks, and they're significant. According to Novico, billions of investment dollars have funded into OZs, and that number is expected to grow. Is a QOZ a good idea for you? Find out in segments 2, 3, and 4, where we're going to address just that with a case study and an analysis of how an OZ fund would compare to just paying the tax now. We're going to get deeper into a contrast and comparison of a 1031 exchange and an OZ investment, the due diligence process, and we'll discuss sponsors and how a real estate investor might select a real estate developer to invest with. I'm also going to show you, the investor, how you can arm yourself with the knowledge and information you need to make an informed and prudent investment strategy and decision. I'm so glad you decided to join us and expand your investing knowledge and understanding. I really am looking forward to seeing you in the next segment.